I forgot how long it's actually been, but I did state in one of my previous videos a long while back that once the Moro arc actually finished in its entirety, I was actually going to go over the entire Moro arc, give my opinions on what was good and what was bad, what I liked, what I disliked, overall if the arc was good or if the arc was bad. And it's been a really long time. Obviously, the Moro arc barely ended like a month or two ago, so I've had a month or two to actually regain my thoughts, but with obviously doing a lot of Twitch, I've been streaming daily, twitch.tv/ Captain Huggy Face, little plug here, as well as getting ready to go back into my second semester of my master's program. I really haven't had that much time to actually sit back, read through the entirety of the Moro arc from start to finish and give my overall opinions on the actual arc. But there is a YouTuber by the name of TotallyNotMark, which obviously, if you're watching my videos, I'm pretty sure you know who he is. He's like one of the bigger channels in terms of Dragon Ball. He does really, really amazing content in terms of Dragon Ball, especially his in-depth analysis as to what makes an arc good. And as of late, one of his comeback videos to Dragon Ball was actually reviewing the Moro arc. It's like a 30-minute long video that I did sit down and watch because I was curious, because him and myself have similar views as to what makes an arc good. And throughout the Moro arc, I was stating, bits and pieces here of stuff that I liked and I disliked. But overall, when I was actually uploading the chapters on my anime page, which if you guys haven't checked out my anime page, link in the description, I usually do like daily dose of anime content as well as uploading the entire chapters when they actually come out. A lot of people were hating on the arc, and I remember when I made a video where my fans actually ranked the arcs from their least favorite to their best favorite. The least favorite arc was the Moro arc. Now, I don't necessarily know if that was because of the fact that the Moro arc was barely beginning at the time or people just didn't know what the Moro arc was. But as time progressed and as more chapters were coming out, I did realize a huge disconnect with the fans or the people that I actually shared the content to, that a lot of people just genuinely didn't like the arc, mainly because of the nostalgia factors that they're actually bringing in. They're basically stating that there was too much nostalgia that was brought into the Moro arc, and that in and of itself did not make this arc very, very unique. And that really puzzles me because when it comes to the Moro arc, in my opinion, like my personal opinion, I feel like this is one of the better arcs. I could even say probably the best arc, like Totally Mark said. This could actually be the best arc that Dragon Ball Super has ever had. And especially that it was its own standalone thing. Like, it didn't have an anime to back it up, it didn't have a movie to back it up. It was completely fresh, completely new. And as it progressed, it was getting more and more unique. Like, obviously, there were callbacks to a lot of stuff that we've seen in the past. Obviously, people making comparisons to obviously the Frieza arc with them going to Namek, the Cell arc with how Moro's final form actually looked, or when Goku gave Moro the senzu bean, giving him that huge vibes. Obviously, there was some Majin Buu in there in terms of actually having Majin Buu and the Lord of Lords, as well as the absorbing and so on and so forth. So like, there's a lot of bits and pieces from previous arcs that a lot of people loved in Z, and they implemented it in this arc. But in my opinion, I feel like those callbacks didn't necessarily push away from the actual content. You guys know what I mean? Like, everything that was actually brought back had a purpose, it had a reason. Like, Goku giving obviously Moro the senzu bean, it wasn't a callback to Cell, it was just a callback to who Goku is as a character. And at this point, it didn't even matter because once Goku actually gave Moro the senzu bean, it really had no effect. Like, Moro still tried to attack Goku and he broke his arm because Goku was that confident in his abilities with Mastered Ultra Instinct and controlling that he was actually able to just give Moro the senzu bean, and regardless of how strong he would get once he ate it, he was still going to beat him up because he was that powerful. There's just a lot of things that a lot of people don't really take into consideration. And one of the bigger points that Totally Not Mark actually brought up, which completely skipped in my mind as well, was when Goku actually honed his energy to create that big after image of himself when he was facing off Moro. A lot of people were saying, oh, they're just using, from Avatar, or they're using it from Naruto, that they were just copying and ripping off other animes. But it was stated within prior chapters by the actual Yard Rats that once someone actually hones their abilities, they can actually morph into a bigger form or a smaller form. So it was a callback from previous chapters. And I feel like that is something that a lot of people had a disconnect with. And that's the fact that each of these actual chapters were released 1 month after one another. Like, even myself, I'm a person who actually uploads the chapters every now and then. Like, obviously, every time a chapter drops, I always upload the chapter in its entirety on my anime page. And even sometimes I do forget that it's actually reaching that actual date when I actually have to look up the actual chapters and upload them. Like, even I forget that the chapters are still going. So, obviously, it kind of does suck the fact that we have to wait 1 month. And especially when it comes to a 1 month cycle where sometimes we get chapters that are not even that good. And that happened a lot within the Moro arc. There was a lot of chapters where completely nothing, like nothing completely even happens. Like, we get no fights, we get no exposition, we get no character development, we get nothing, and it's just literally 40 pages of nothingness, and that actually turns people off, and a lot of people just forget that Dragon Ball Super is still going. This wasn't a problem in terms of the Moro arc towards the end, because obviously every time there's a chapter at the end, there's always a cliffhanger that always had people wondering what's going to be happening next. But I do see that in the beginning of the Moro arc, it was kind of like that. That was like one negative that I did have, and Totally Not Mark actually did bring it up as well, is the fact that sometimes nothing really happens in terms of the beginning of the Moro arc, and people just forget that it's an actual thing. And in terms of that, when it comes to another negative that a lot of people kind of notice, as well as myself, is the fact of a lot of stuff just happening just when it could happen. So, like the Lord of Lords I actually mentioned, they actually brought him back, but he didn't really play that big of a role as a whole. Like, he was just there in the beginning and there at the end. He was not there within the middle, especially over the fact that he said that he was going to, replace Majin Buu until Moro was defeated, but he wasn't even there to begin with. Like, he literally just disappeared. A lot of people were upset within like my anime community over the fact that Oob has this divine power. How did he actually get this power and stuff like that? But I feel like when people were complaining about Oob's power, they basically just forgot about what was stated about Kid Buu and Majin Buu at the very beginning of the arc, which obviously, like I mentioned, having that 1 month cycle, people tend to forget what exactly has happened. So I'm guessing a lot of people just forgot what Mirrors actually said in terms of Kid Buu and Majin Buu and how the actual power was divided. And there's just a lot of things that a lot of people just didn't like. Obviously there's just a lot of moments that people didn't like, a lot of moments that people just wish weren't even there to begin with. But as a whole, for me, the arc, it has to be one of the better arcs we've ever seen. It really had a good beginning, middle, and end. Obviously, there were some points in there that were really, really slow. And obviously, when it came to like Moro's wish of releasing the Galactic Patrol prisoners within the actual captivity, that turned off a lot of people instantly. But it was a reason why he actually did that. The reason why he did that was to have henchmen to go through different planets, find planets worthy to him to actually absorb. Obviously, releasing 7-3, which was one of his bigger plans to actually absorb him later on if he needed to. Like, everything in terms of the Moro arc had a reason to actually happen. Not like many other arcs where it was just literally the enemies there, the enemy like powers up and becomes stronger and somehow beats the heroes. The heroes have to overcome that. When it came to Moro, it was completely different because we knew that Goku and Co were actually going to beat Moro, but we didn't really know how exactly he was actually going to beat Moro, because Moro was just so unique in terms of his power, obviously being able to absorb abilities, being able to use those abilities to make himself stronger, to make himself younger. That's something we've never seen before, and I feel like a lot of people are downplaying the Moro arc just because of its negatives, when in reality there were a lot more positives than there were negatives. And like I stated, I definitely would recommend checking out Totally Not Mark's video, because it's a 30-minute video where he analyzes everything to a T. Like, he does it so well that it literally, this video that I'm actually talking about has no justice to the analysis that he put into that video. Like, in the end, in my opinion, the Moro arc has to be a top tier arc. Probably not one of the best arcs in terms of Dragon Ball as a whole, but if we're looking at Super, it definitely has to be the best arc that Super has ever introduced. Like, it, in my opinion, now that I'm actually looking back at it and I have read a little bit more about it, and I got to hear Totally Not Mark's perspective of it, I even have to admit, I have to put my biases to a side and say that this arc, hands down, has to be better than the Goku Black arc. Like, the Goku Black arc did have fan service, and obviously the Moro arc had a bunch of fan service, but the way that it actually structured from beginning, middle, end, how it actually blends in from the actual Broly movie or the end of the tournament at Power arc, the way it just blends in everything as the story progresses is so much better than the Goku Black arc that I feel like my nostalgia of Goku Black has to like just be pushed aside, and I have to admit the fact that the Moro arc has to be one of the better arcs, probably even the best arc that Super has today. And obviously, I can't say that because we have the Granola, the Survivor arc, so we don't know if Granola is actually going to be a better arc. Which, like I stated, if it is going to go down the Rogue Angel aspect or the Rogue Angel actual theory, it might be one of the best arcs we've ever seen, just by the fact that we might get an evil angel. But we're going to have to wait until January 20th for the next chapter to see what exactly Granola is up to. But with that being said, that's the end of my video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. What did you guys think about the Moro arc overall? Like I stated, for me, there were some bad moments as well as good moments, but the good moments for me completely outweigh the bad moments. So for me, if I were to give it like an overall rating, I would give the Moro arc about an 8.5, maybe even a 9 out of 10. Like, even though there's a lot of nostalgic moments that kind of hindered the experience, for me, that's not enough to make it go all the way down to like a 7 or an 8, you know? Like, it really has to be up there. But that's just my opinion. Like I stated, what did you guys think about the Moro arc? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? What were some moments that you liked? What were some moments that you disliked? Just leave all of your guys' thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hopefully I make a video when the next chapter of Dragon Ball Super comes out, because I'm really interested to see what Granola is going to be up to within the next chapter. And as always, like I stated, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.